What does it take to be an advocate and to support someone with mental health issues who is battling or struggling with mental illness? What does it take not only to be an advocate for them, but to also take care of yourself at the same time? Today on Leading Emotional Health. So now we're to the part where I want to talk about what does it take to be a strong advocate and survive that advocacy by not losing yourself. Let's take a look at what those strategies look like. So what is needed to be successful at being a mental health advocate, to support someone who is battling with mental health, and to ensure that you survive that whole or somewhat whole? Here it is: clarity, grace, advocacy, boundaries, support, and self-care. Let's take a look at each of these independently. Beginning with clarity. What do I mean by that, and why is it needed? And until everyone involved in that support for that individual is clear on the situation at hand, what the current situation is, who's involved, what are their roles in not only getting to the place that you're at, but where you want to go, where the individual wants to go, if they even know, and what kind of things are needed in all of that in order to progress positively forward for the best interests of that individual. Next, diagnosis. And this may, depending on the situation, be a struggle. I struggled with it for 30 years. Diagnosis, and the proper diagnosis, and one that you can trust is right, is a huge part of clarity. And then also getting a treatment that plan is going to work, that everyone's in agreement of as much as possible, and then how to ensure that treatment plan is adhered to. That's a real tricky part as well. And who are some influencers in the individuals that are part of the care team that you build, and how can you use them strategically to help the individual who is battling mental illness through the difficult times ahead. The next is grace. Grace is so important, that everyone has compassion for one another, and that you don't lose that compassion in the times of great frustration, because great frustration is just part of this deal, unfortunately. As patience starts to fray, always remember compassion for the individual, for one another, and for yourself. Help freely and keep that spirit of helping freely. Once it becomes a chore, you don't have the right mindset to truly be an advocate with grace as a hallmark guiding you in your advocacy. And part of that is a notion of other first. That individual has to be your primary focus. Doesn't mean your only focus, right? But it has to be a primary focus if you're truly going to be the advocate. You can't be tomorrow, not now. Oh, I can't be bothered with it. Then don't do it. You're doing a disservice for the individual and actually doing the individual harm. And finally, it results in, to some extent, being selfless. And that's why certain individuals who lack grace cannot be part of that orbit or care team that you, or support team that you surround yourself with to help that individual, because they lack grace. And when you identify and have clarity about that, then know that that is a part of grace too. And you can't be angry at those individuals, but give them grace in recognizing and honoring that it's too much for them to do that heavy lifting. What does advocacy look like, and how should you be ready to show up? One is to be a representative and a voice for the individual that you are being an advocate for, because many of those situations, the individuals can't speak for themselves because of their condition and or just their state of awareness at times, or their ability to just own where they're at. It's a large task. My mother never admitted to her mental illness or mental health issues. It was always a nerve problem. It was always somebody else's fault. Overusing prescription drugs was, I'm just taking what the doctor gives me. Always somebody else's fault or excuses. The primary job is for the advocate to remove barriers that stand in the way, to positively move the individual forward to at least a state where they are getting incrementally better, but clearly not getting worse, and that their basic needs are being met. Are they being cared for? And are they safe? And are they physically well? Once those things are in place, then mental health issues can be addressed with the right care team, diagnosis, and treatment. And also to uphold the rights of that individual, because oftentimes those individuals, you get stuck in the bureaucracy of healthcare or social services, and you have to bulldoze your way through. I had too many times for my mom. Next is boundaries. Boundaries are huge, and they have to be set and established, agreed upon, and followed through. First, the purpose for the boundaries are to guide behaviors of everybody involved. Here's what the behaviors are expected, and here's what won't be tolerated. Here are the rules around that. Here are the standards around that, and everyone's responsibility. And oh, guess what? When these rules are broken, here are the consequences. With my mother, one of the things that where it was off topic is bad mouthing my father. She bad mouthed my dad on the phone. I would hang up. Took about a month to learn, and that behavior stopped for quite a bit of time until something, and then it'd start, and I'd have to reinitiate the consequences. So why do you do these, and why is it helpful and meaningful for everybody involved? It's to break patterns of bad behavior and or abuse, self-abuse or other abuse, to protect everybody involved so you can all succeed. Pure and simple. People who don't do this work, refuse to do this work, are afraid to do this work because it's going to hurt somebody's feelings. It's not about feelings. It's about positive outcomes. It's essential for success. How about support? You need support. You're being the support for the individual. But what about you? You need to make sure you're supported. Your emotional health, your mental health, your physical health, and your spiritual health are all cared for. That you don't put this on the back burner. Because if you start to suffer, if your emotional health, which is fed by your mental, spiritual, and physical health, then you will be no good for yourself or for anyone else. So you need to be very conscious about leading your emotional health as you are going through this, which is not easy. But although it's not easy, it can be extremely gratifying. And the payoff of helping an individual get on a path of more mentally well, it can be extraordinary. The key for self-care is to find your balance. What is the balance? And make sure that each of those components of emotional, your mental health, your physical health is being cared for, and that you really lean into your spiritual health. And if you haven't done so before, you need to start, because your spiritual health is of critical importance to gain inner strength through the trials and tribulations in doing this work. Self first, because if you're not good for yourself, you're good for no one else. Make sure you have a truth teller. Every one of us in our life needs a truth teller. Someone that you go for advice and counsel that will tell you the truth no matter how harsh it is. And through that, because they know that they care for you, and that's why they're telling you the honest truth instead of color coding. Someone who will pick you up instead of drag you down or be in the gutter with you. And someone who will keep you responsible. That's all part of self-care. This is what you need. If you find yourself in the position to step forward and help someone that is battling mental illness, if you are in that now, this is the litmus test to measure where am I in relation to these strategies. If you need help with these strategies, please reach out to somebody, talk to somebody. I have a mental health advocate session that I do with people. If you're interested in that, go to www.pivotatwork.com and look at that session. It's a great way to understand where you are in relation to these items and to build a plan moving forward to make sure that these things are embedded in the work that you're doing as a support advocate for someone who's struggling with mental health. If you've learned something from this or found it curious, please like the video and share it with someone that would find this information valuable. And leave a comment and begin a discussion, because sharing one another's experiences is what helps support one another who have been through or are living through a similar situation.